Thank you, KCIW listeners, everyone out there in the Curry County and in the cyber world on the podcast. This is Amanda Whittemore with the Quality Living with Peaceful Support Program. We gladly invite you to listen to our guest and especially go online and view past shows because many of our guests have series and multiple programs that really create the whole entire piece to the puzzle. So if you ever do binge watching, try binge listening here on KCIW with Peaceful Support. And today, well, if you're just tuning into Quality Living with Peaceful Support Program, we really do invite as much variety of every walk of life of person here on earth into the studio here off of Chetco Avenue, our main street in Brookings. And it's quite fun. And honestly, we do have capability to do call-ins. If you ever want to call in, that's totally possible. And the best way to get in touch with us is through email, contact@kciw.org, especially if you're listening to a past show on a podcast or on the listening station. Please do, if you have comments or questions, please definitely email us. We love to communicate. Obviously, we have a radio station. And so we also greatly thank all of our sponsors that participate. We have some brand new sponsors. By surprise, my actual mother, Bobby Goldman, she is a caregiver and she is one of the most radical she's a golfer and she makes the best club sandwiches you could ever get out of golf course. And she's one of our most recent sponsors. Thank you, Mom. And I really appreciate it. Didn't expect it. Totally appreciate it. And one of our other new and recent sponsors is Sunny from Interior Design. Sunny of Sunny's Interior Design. She's a local interior designer and real estate broker at Century 21 Agate Realty. And we thank you, Sunny, for your sponsorship. And also, of course, Ernie from Guitar Central, Dana from Wildwood Multifarious Gifts. You guys are rock stars and your contribution keeps this radio station alive. And also, one of our other radical sponsors that we have is actually in the station with us right now. And so we want to thank Georgia Cockerham. Georgia Cockerham is a published author and of mystery and suspense. You can find her at colorandwordsbygeorgia.com. That's her website, colorandwordsbygeorgia.com. And Georgia is in the studio right now. Say hi, listeners.
Hi, listeners.
Hey, Georgia. That's cute. Yeah. So Georgia has another program or another recorded session here with us. We record all of our sessions. We air them, we record them, we post them on the podcast for all of our Quality Living listeners to be able to hear them when they want to hear them, not just when we air. So, Georgia, what do you have for us today?
Well, I have more information on what has been going on with the Board of Commissioners meetings. And I share this information because the name of this program is Quality Living. Peaceful Support. Well, my husband and I first bought in Curry County 20 years ago, and I am very interested in quality living for all of us here in Curry County. So I think it's important that you are aware of some of what's going on through our local government.
That is quite a special gift, and we are, pardon me, my microphone's going wild. That is a super special gift because, some of us, I appreciate that. People think about quality living and they think of, their body, maybe their vehicle, perhaps their family or their business. However, it extends to our community and our government and all parts of being here on Earth, even to the solar system. So yeah, Georgia, let's hear and what exactly is going on and how people can get in contact with you and find out more.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. The last talk that I did, I had given to the Board of Commissioners at one of their meetings on October 17th. I spoke at that time on the Commissioners' erroneous use of the term metric as one method to determine what level of safety in this county they decided was adequate. I'm here today to discuss a second method also used in error. I am referring to the phrase span of control. Although without any evidence of executive-level education, training, or experience, Mr. Alcorn used his self-proclaimed law enforcement expertise to impress upon the public that span of control is the all-purpose measuring device for law enforcement agencies. He spoke of the span of control numbers in large agencies, providing 3 examples. OSP is 1 supervisor to 8 troopers. Portland is 1.7, and Fresno 1 to 8. It makes sense to use span of control in these large agencies because that is the purpose for which it originated. Experts will tell you that this method of organization is most useful in medium to large organizations, less useful in smaller organizations, and least relevant in the smallest organizations like that of our Curry County Sheriff's Office. This is because supervisors in a small agency, such as our Sheriff's Office, have multiple duties in addition to supervising. Span of control is not some sacred law enforcement tool. It's merely a model for large agencies to consider. Yet, meeting after meeting, it was used to justify dangerous and unnecessary cuts to our Sheriff's Office. Throughout the budgeting process, the sheriff, captain, and lieutenant each made several attempts to explain why their supervisors are necessary and how the deep cuts would destroy safety within our county. Anyone with training in strategic thinking would have wanted a better understanding of the sheriff's office operations before making cuts. And it wasn't just the sheriff's operations that the commissioners didn't understand. The commissioners began eliminating county department positions without first talking to the department heads. Our county clerk and chief assessor each attended the June 10th Board of Commissioners meeting and expressed their disappointment for not being consulted before the commissioners decided which of their employees to cut. The county clerk informed the commissioners that they were cutting mandated services, positions supported by Oregon law. She stated that, if necessary, they could contact the governor and declare a fiscal emergency. The chief assessor informed the commissioners that she had been in contact with the Department of Revenue about the commissioners making a motion to remove 2 of her employees. She also commented on Mr. Trost's threat to file a lawsuit against the Department of Revenue if they interfered with the commissioners' actions. Mr. Trost's threat lends itself to the current state of the legal department being 145% over budget. And that's the budget they just spent weeks working on. To summarize, the Board of Commissioners, knowing nothing about operations in the Sheriff's Office or county departments, went about cutting positions without first talking to Sheriff Ward and county department heads. They based their careless and damaging decisions on the erroneous use of 2 methodologies, metrics and span of control, neither of which should ever have been introduced into their budget-cutting process. And the carelessness continues. During the October 17th meeting, Mr. Trost proclaimed that the commissioners owed it to themselves and the taxing districts within the county to order a forensic audit of the county finance department. Not just one forensic audit, but that a forensic audit be completed every 3 years. Let me explain. A forensic audit is an in-depth examination of a company's or individual's financial records to uncover evidence of fraud, misconduct, embezzlement, or irregularities. The purpose of a forensic audit is to gather evidence that can be used in court. Like the other words and phrases they've used to support their gross misjudgment, their comments in favor of forensic audits suggest that not one of them knew the meaning of that to which they all agreed. So the question becomes, if the commissioners Counselor Fitzgerald and Commissioner-elect think that a forensic audit is necessary now and that they'll need additional forensic audits every 3 years, who is it in the finance department that they suspect of criminal behavior, fraud, or embezzlement, and why would they allow an employee they suspect today to continue working for the county until their planned forensic audit 3 years from now?
Holy goodness.
The next thing that I will discuss is another Board of Commissioners talk.
Okay, and so for everyone that's tuning in, this is the Quality Living with Peaceful Support show, and we have Georgia Cockerham giving a really juicy, detailed report on for the health of Curry County and from the Commissioners Board meeting. Thank you, Georgia. Please continue.
Okay. There are a few words and phrases running through the Board of Commissioners board meetings, one of them being transparency. Mr. Trost alluded to transparency during his November 6th rant. He seemed out of control as he stared at those around him, raising his voice and using expletives in an attempt to make his point. He stated, and I quote, "All we have done since we've been up here is ask for more transparency," unquote. Yes, they have demanded transparency from others, but how transparent have they been with the public? Following the failed levy last May, a member of the Budget Committee commented about the manner in which the Board of Commissioners presented the levy to the public, resulting in the public believing the levy was only about the sheriff's office, when in reality, a past levy would have also provided considerable funding for the county departments. Mr. Trost acknowledged that the commissioners had discussed how much information they should provide to the public and intentionally decided to present it as a law enforcement levy, knowing that it would have dramatic impacts on all aspects of county government. There was a clear and intentional decision to put transparency aside and keep the citizens in the dark about the full impact of the levy. It was recently mentioned that the last levy didn't pass because the public didn't trust the sheriff's office or the Board of Commissioners. Well, that's wrong. The public does trust the sheriff's office. It's the commissioners they don't trust. Lack of transparency has also been an issue for Mr. Alcorn and his repetitive insistence that he will come up with a plan for public safety. At the June 10th budget meeting, Mr. Alcorn stated to the Budget Committee, "What we agreed upon and what we voted on is not going to work. So I put together this plan. This plan starts with reorganizing the structure of the sheriff's office." And that's a quote. This was the first plan Mr. Alcorn put together with no understanding of how the sheriff's office operates and without first talking to the sheriff about his plan before presenting it to the public. For several reasons, Mr. Alcorn's explanation of his plan was dismissed during that meeting. It has been 6 months since the commissioners defunded the sheriff's office and still have no viable plan to restore safety to Curry County. During these 6 months, Mr. Alcorn has mentioned several times that he has a plan. However, he's never explained just what his plan is. This again reflects the secretive, non-transparent actions of the commissioners. Maybe the commissioners should be required to explain their secret plan and provide a detailed list of the associated costs to the citizens. With this information, Curry County citizens could compare the cost of keeping our sheriff's office against the cost of Mr. Alcorn's plan. Going on now to bring you more current. Do you know about the recent efforts by a group of citizens to obtain the Board of Commissioners agreement to put on the ballot next May a law enforcement levy? This would be a levy promoted by the citizens specifically for the sheriff's office. It would be used to hire 5 more patrol deputies, 2 dispatchers, and 1 sergeant. The levy would provide funding for the sheriff's office sufficient to eliminate its financial dependency upon the commissioner's funding approval. Ending the sheriff's office dependency upon the county would leave about $1,250,000 in the county general fund and road funds. The levy would be for $1.12 of assessed property value. It would last for no more than 5 years and could be shortened if a permanent source of funding to arise. I am working with the group of citizens and have been working with them, presenting this levy and the idea of it to the Board of Commissioners, and thus far, the Board of Commissioners has not indicated that they would approve putting it on the ballot for us. That's all we would need the commissioners to do. So we would be able to hire the 5 additional patrol deputies, 2 dispatchers, 1 sergeant, and cover a substantial amount of money other than that is currently funding the sheriff's office out of the county. And what we want is to make the sheriff's office independent of the county financing. There's been an expected increase in crime since the commissioners determined how much of the $17 million in road funds they would use for sheriff's office patrol deputies. They chose to fund only 3 patrol deputies, knowing that crime would increase and that the deputies could not be at all places at one time. Curry County spans 100 miles north to south. If a crime occurs in Langlis and one patrol deputy is attending a training program, another is out sick, and the remaining deputy answering a call in Brookings, it will take considerable time for the deputy in Brookings to arrive at the Langlis scene. If your family goes to a Chetco River campground for an enjoyable day of recreation and you find a homeless camp blocking the entrance, chances are there will be no deputy available to immediately respond to a call. If you are gone for the weekend and someone breaks into your garage or someone breaks into your shed or even your home, you can call the sheriff's office. However, rather than a deputy immediately responding, you will be asked to complete a written report, and it will be addressed as soon as they are able. There are some Curry County citizens who don't believe road funds should be used for the sheriff's office patrol, even though Oregon law provides for just this use. There are some citizens who, because they live in the city, think they do not have a need for the sheriff's office. This, too, is short-sighted. As crime goes up in Curry County, our property values will fall. If the sheriff's office is denied adequate funding to operate the 911 emergency dispatch center and it is outsourced to a separate company, you will pay for that. If due to increased crime, city police are asked to respond outside of their city limits, you will pay for that. If the sheriff's office is not able to maintain the jail and that service must be privatized to an outside company, you will pay for that. Would research show that the cost to outsource all of the functions now handled by our sheriff's office would be in excess of the $1.12 per thousand of assessed value as proposed in the citizens' levy? It has been 6 months since the commissioners defunded the sheriff's office, and still they have no viable plan to restore safety to Curry County.
And so some of our listeners may not have all that much of an idea of how exactly this process works, because we're hearing that the Board of Commissioners are making decisions and creating plans without talking to certain department heads and things of that nature. And then how involved is our city council with the Board of Commissioners? Do they meet regularly? Or how does that work?
Well, that's a great question, Amanda. It would be my guess that the great majority of listeners are not aware of the power that they put into the commissioners' hands when they vote for them. Mm-hmm. And clearly, with the budget crisis, the current individuals serving on the Board of Commissioners do not have the executive level experience an education to have been able to handle this.
And that's been pointed out to quite a lot of people in town. They're questioning how and where did this come from? And so where we're at now, it's most important, listeners, to if you to get more information, to actually go to the meetings and or tune into 100.7 the Quality Living Show. And then thankfully we have phenomenal community citizens such as Georgia that take initiative to not only go there, but also to be a responsible participant in providing this information to us. And so what are some, how can our listeners get in touch with you if they wanted to hear more, or when can we remind them, because they may not all, everyone's welcome to go to past shows and listen, but when exactly is our Board of Commissioners meeting?
The first Wednesday, and I believe the third Thursday, although I would ask that they confirm that on the website. First Wednesday, I will be at the commissioners meeting this Wednesday. That's at 6 p.m. And then on the, I believe, third Thursday of each month, it is at 4 p.m. And if you cannot attend the meetings, they are live on video. You are able to log on to Curry County Commissioners meeting and put in the date, and you will be able to hear it live. They are recorded, so you can then go back, which I have done with many of the meetings. You can go back and listen to exactly what is being said. My email address, if anyone would like to contact me and receive the specific resources that I have used from these meetings, I can give you the meeting date, the hour, and the minutes into the meeting that these quotes occur, and then you can listen to the meeting, what is said both before and after, in order to get the full context of what has been said. My email address is my first and last name, Georgia Cockerham at msn.com. That's Georgia spelled like the state, Cockerham at msn.com. If any of you are interested in learning more about what I've spoken of, I would be more than happy to, again, give you resources and talk about this with you. If I may, I will mention one other thing, and this may help too with your listeners' understanding of what's going on. There is a big difference between the sheriff's office and the county departments. The sheriff's office is one of the major divisions of the executive branch of the government. And this is what I'm about to tell you comes from Black's Law Dictionary in defining the office of the sheriff. The office of the sheriff is not simply another department of county government. The internal operation of an office of sheriff is the sole responsibility of the elected sheriff. County department heads, such as the county finance department, are subordinate to a county governing body, that being the commissioners, because a department is truly only a division of county government. The office of sheriff is a statutory constitutional office having exclusive powers and authority under state law and our state constitution. These inherent powers are not subject to the dictates of a local county governing body, such as the commissioners. So the use of the term department implies being a subordinate unit of government. The use of the term office implies inherent powers and independent sovereignty. So our sheriff, one of the things that the commissioners continually seem to bring up is, why isn't the sheriff here? Why isn't the sheriff doing what we want? Why isn't the sheriff answering our questions. Well, the sheriff doesn't have to show up at the Board of Commissioners meetings. And the sheriff did answer their questions. Commissioner Alcorn came up with 50 questions. And the sheriff, his captain, and lieutenant were all participants in answering those questions. And at one point, after the questions were answered, Mr. Alcorn stated that was all that was needed. He thanked the sheriff and said he understood. But subsequent to that meeting, we hear over and over again, well, why isn't the sheriff here answering our questions? Or why isn't the sheriff telling us about our safety? Well, it's not the sheriff that took the safety away. It's the commissioners that took the safety away. And they know that crime is up. They warned people that crime was going to go up. So they understood before they determined that 3 patrol deputies is all that they would fund. They knew that this was defunding the sheriff's office was going to increase crime in our county.
Oh my, that is just very full. I don't even have words because it's like, it almost doesn't feel, it's like, how could that even be?
It's because we don't know enough to pay attention to who we are putting into positions of power.
Correct.
And unfortunately, we don't have a large population in this area, so a lot of times one person is running for a position and there's no one running against them.
Oh,
and
geez.
they end up in a position of power. Yeah.
Wow. And that's very, I've seen that actually, yes.
I'm sure it happens a lot.
Yeah. And so we can participate by educating ourselves more, and that's kind of the main goal. And we want to give a special thank you for your time today and the time that you give on Wednesdays and Thursdays and on your spare time to write. As you are a published author, it's good to be able to hear parts and bits and pieces of your work. And if people want to hear more of what Georgia does and has, listeners, you can find her on Color and Words by Georgia.com. And we thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate the opportunity to educate the public.
Beautiful. And we'll keep it going. All right. Thank you, listeners. Have a great evening.